Maya Chen adjusted her thick glasses and pulled her hood lower as she walked through the crowded hallway of Terra Prime Academy. Students rushed past her without a second glance, their conversations filled with excitement about the upcoming Galactic Defense Corps recruitment fair. She kept her head down, clutching her worn backpack tighter. "Did you hear? Commander Steele is coming to speak at the fair," squealed Jessica Martinez, the most popular girl in their year. "I heard she single-handedly destroyed 3 Zephyrian battlecruisers during the siege of Proxima." Maya's steps faltered for just a moment. 3 battlecruisers. The memory of twisted metal and screaming engines flashed through her mind before she pushed it away. She continued walking, invisible as always. "Commander Steele is like the greatest war hero ever," added Brad Thompson, Jessica's boyfriend and captain of the combat simulation team. "I bet she's some kind of super soldier. Probably 8 feet tall and covered in scars." Maya almost smiled at that. At 5'4" and weighing barely 120 pounds, she was anything but imposing. The only scars she carried were hidden beneath her oversized sweater, thin white lines that told stories she could never share. She slipped into her advanced xenobiology class just as Professor Kumar began his lecture. The classroom was half empty as usual. Most students avoided the difficult science courses, preferring the glory of tactical studies or starship engineering. Maya preferred it this way. Fewer people meant fewer questions about why a seemingly ordinary girl knew so much about alien anatomy and weaknesses. "Today we'll be studying the Zephyrian neural structure," Professor Kumar announced, pulling up a holographic display. As many of you know, understanding alien biology was crucial during the recent war. The famous Commander Steele reportedly used knowledge of Zephyrian nervous systems to— Maya's tablet slipped from her hands, clattering to the floor. Several students turned to look at her, and she felt heat rise to her cheeks. She quickly retrieved the device, avoiding eye contact. "Sorry," she mumbled. Professor Kumar continued his lecture, but Maya could feel his curious gaze lingering on her. She'd made a mistake. Her reaction had been too strong, too telling. She needed to be more careful. After class, she hurried toward the library, her sanctuary. The vast digital archives contained millions of texts from across the galaxy, and Maya had read more of them than any student in the Academy's history. The librarian, Mrs. Rodriguez, always greeted her warmly. "The usual spot is free today, dear," Mrs. Rodriguez said with a knowing smile. "I saved that new publication on post-war reconstruction you requested." Maya nodded gratefully and made her way to the corner booth hidden behind towering servers. Here, surrounded by the quiet hum of processing units, she could finally breathe. She pulled out her personal tablet and opened a secure file labeled Maintenance Logs. To anyone watching, it would look like boring technical data. In reality, it was her diary. Entry 847. "They're talking about the recruitment fair. About me. About Commander Steele. Sometimes I wonder if I should just disappear, start over somewhere else. But Dr. Harrison says running won't help the nightmares. She says I need to process what happened, to find a way to live with who I was." Maya paused, her fingers hovering over the virtual keyboard. Who she was. Past tense. Because Maya Chen, average student and social outcast, was supposed to be who she was now. Commander Steele was supposed to be dead and buried along with the war. She closed the diary and opened her actual homework. Advanced quantum mechanics equations filled the screen, problems that would challenge even graduate students. For Maya, they were a welcome distraction. Mathematics was pure clean. Unlike memories of battlefields and the weight of command decisions that saved billions of lives, her concentration broke when she heard familiar voices approaching. Jessica and her friends had entered the library, probably looking for someone to copy homework from. Maya sank lower in her seat, hoping they wouldn't notice her. "I still can't believe Commander Steele just vanished after the war," Jessica was saying. "Like poof. The greatest hero in human history just disappears. Some people say she's dead, but I think she's probably on some secret mission." "Maybe she's undercover," suggested another girl. "Could be anyone, anywhere. She could even be here at the Academy." The group laughed at the absurdity of it. The idea that a legendary war hero could be hiding among teenage students was ridiculous. Maya pulled her hood up further and tried to focus on her equations, but Brad's next words made her blood run cold. "Actually, my dad works for GDC Intelligence. He says they're still looking for her. Apparently she took some classified information when she left. They want it back." Maya's stylus snapped in her grip. The sharp crack echoed through the quiet library, and suddenly all eyes were on her corner booth. She looked up to find Jessica's group staring at her with mixtures of surprise and amusement. "Oh wow, it's the ghost girl," Jessica said with mock sweetness. "Didn't see you there, Maya. You're so quiet, it's like you don't even exist." If only you knew, Maya thought. Out loud, she mumbled another apology and began packing her things. As she stood to leave, Brad called out, "Hey, ghost girl, you dropped something." Maya turned to see him holding up a small metal disc that had fallen from her bag. Her heart stopped. It was a GDC officer's identification chip, one she should have turned in years ago, one that would immediately identify her as Commander Steele if scanned. "Just a game token," she said quickly, snatching it from his hand. Her fingers brushed against his and she had to resist the trained instinct to grab his wrist and disarm him. Old habits from a different life. Brad shrugged, already losing interest. "Whatever. Come on, guys, let's go find someone who actually knows the tactical assignment answers." As they left, Maya sank back into her chair, shaking. This was getting too close. The recruitment fair, Brad's father's connections, the identification chip. It was all spiraling out of control. She had tried so hard to be nobody, to fade into the background, but the past had a way of catching up, no matter how far you ran or how deep you buried it. She looked at the chip in her palm, its surface worn smooth from years of handling. Such a small thing to carry such enormous weight. On this chip was proof of everything she'd done, everyone she'd saved and everyone she'd failed to save. Maya Chen closed her eyes and made a decision. Tomorrow she would face whatever came. Tonight she just wanted to be nobody for a little while longer. Maya woke before dawn, as she had every day for the past 3 years. The nightmares had been particularly vivid last night. Flashes of burning ships and dying friends mixed with Brad's casual mention of GDC intelligence hunting for her. She sat on the edge of her narrow dormitory bed, running her hands through her black hair. Her roommate, Zoe, was still asleep. The girl snored softly, completely unaware that she was sharing a room with the most wanted person in the galaxy. Maya envied that innocence, that ability to sleep without seeing the faces of fallen soldiers behind closed eyelids. She dressed quickly in her usual oversized clothes and made her way to the academy's gymnasium. At this hour, it was empty except for the maintenance bots cleaning the equipment. Maya preferred it this way. She could exercise without anyone noticing that her basic fitness routine included military-grade combat drills. She started with simple stretches, then moved into forms that looked like dance but were actually deadly fighting techniques. Each movement was precise, controlled muscle memory from years of training that no amount of pretending could erase. For 30 minutes she allowed herself to be who she really was. Then she showered and became Maya Chen, unremarkable student once again. The cafeteria was buzzing with excitement when she arrived for breakfast. Banners hung from the ceiling announcing the GDC recruitment fair, and holographic displays showed images of sleek starships and proud soldiers. Maya grabbed a tray and got in line behind a group of eager first years. "I'm definitely applying for the pilot program," one boy was saying. "My flight sim scores are in the top 10%. "That's nothing," replied his friend. "I've been studying Zephyrian combat tactics since I was 12. I want to be just like Commander Steele." Maya's grip tightened on her tray. She loaded it with simple foods, bread, fruit, protein paste, and found an empty table in the corner. From here, she could watch the room without being noticed. Another habit from her military days. The main entrance doors slid open, and Maya's blood turned to ice. A group of uniformed officers entered the cafeteria, their black GDC intelligence badges gleaming under the artificial lights. Leading them was a man Maya recognized, Colonel Marcus Webb, her former handler. His eyes swept the room systematically, professionally, looking for something, looking for someone. Maya forced herself to take a bite of bread to act normal. But her mind was racing. Webb was here. That meant they had a lead, a real one. She needed to leave, needed to run, but any sudden movement would draw attention. So she sat and ate her breakfast like any other student, while the most dangerous man in her past stood 30 feet away. "Attention, students," came the voice of Headmaster Park over the intercom. "Please welcome our distinguished guests from GDC Intelligence. They'll be conducting interviews for advanced placement opportunities during today's recruitment fair." Webb stepped forward to address the room. His voice was smooth, confident, the same tone he'd used to give her mission briefings years ago. "Thank you, Headmaster Park. We're looking for exceptional individuals to join our Special Operations Division. Students with unique skills, unconventional thinking, or unusual backgrounds are particularly encouraged to apply. His eyes found Maya's table, and for a moment, she thought he'd recognized her, but his gaze moved on without acknowledgement. To him, she was just another face in the crowd. Her disguise was holding. After breakfast, Maya tried to attend her regular classes, but concentration was impossible. Every shadow could hide an intelligence agent. Every casual question from a classmate could be a probe for information. By lunch, her nerves were stretched to the breaking point. She was walking toward the library when someone grabbed her arm. Maya spun around, combat instincts flaring, but managed to stop herself from throwing a punch when she saw it was only Professor Kumar. "Miss Chen, I was hoping to speak with you," he said, his expression curious. "Your reaction in class yesterday was quite interesting. You seem to know more about Zephyrian biology than my textbook suggests is possible for an undergraduate student." Maya's mouth went dry. "I just read a lot, Professor. I find xenobiology fascinating." Professor Kumar studied her face carefully. "Yes, I've noticed your enthusiasm for advanced topics. In fact, your knowledge seems almost professional. Tell me, have you ever considered that your talents might be better suited to practical application rather than theoretical study?" "I don't understand what you mean." "There are opportunities for students with your particular insights. Special programs. The GDC representatives who arrived today, for instance, are very interested in individuals with your background." Maya felt the walls closing in. "My background? Come now, Miss Chen. A student doesn't acquire your level of detailed knowledge about alien anatomy from books alone. Your questions in class, the way you analyze weak points and defensive structures, it suggests field experience." Maya backed away slowly. "I should get to my next class, of course. But think about what I've said. Sometimes hiding extraordinary talents is a disservice to humanity. We could use heroes like you. Heroes like you." The words echoed in Maya's mind as she hurried away. Professor Kumar knew, maybe not everything, but enough to be dangerous. How many others had noticed inconsistencies in her carefully constructed facade? She skipped her afternoon classes and hid in her dormitory room, pacing the small space like a caged animal. Through the window, she could see the recruitment fair setting up in the main courtyard. Banners with Commander Steele's silhouette fluttered in the artificial wind. Students gathered around displays of weapons and starships, their faces bright with dreams of glory. They had no idea what war actually meant: the smell of burning flesh, the sound of friends dying over the comm, the impossible weight of decisions that saved some and doomed others. Maya had tried to give them a future where they wouldn't need to learn those lessons, but here they were, eager to follow in her footsteps. Zoe burst through the door, her face flushed with excitement. "Maya, you have to come see this. They have actual war veterans at the fair, telling stories about the battles. One guy said he served under Commander Steele herself." Maya's heart stopped. "What? Yeah. Sergeant Torres, I think his name was. He's describing the Battle of Kepler Station. It's amazing. Come on, you have to hear this." Maya allowed herself to be dragged outside, partly from curiosity and partly from the need to see how much Torres remembered. They joined a crowd gathered around a scarred veteran with kind eyes and a prosthetic arm. Maya recognized him immediately. Carlos Torres, one of her best squad leaders. "Commander Steele saved all our lives that day," Torres was saying to the fascinated students. "The Zephyrians had us pinned down and the station was about to fall. Then she appeared out of nowhere with this crazy plan that shouldn't have worked but somehow did. She was smaller than most of us, but she had this presence, you know? When she spoke, people listened. When she moved, we followed." Jessica raised her hand. "What was she like as a person? I mean, was she scary? Intimidating?" Torres smiled sadly. "Scared, mostly. She tried to hide it, but I could see it in her eyes. The weight of command, of knowing that every decision meant life or death for thousands of people. She was just a kid herself, really. Couldn't have been more than 25 when she disappeared. But she carried the weight of the entire human race on her shoulders." Maya felt tears threatening and quickly wiped her eyes. When she looked up, she found Torres staring directly at her. Their eyes met across the crowd, and she saw recognition flash across his features. His mouth opened slightly in shock, but then his expression shifted to understanding, and he gave her the smallest of nods. He knew. Carlos Torres, one of the few people left alive who had served directly under her command, had found her. And from the look in his eyes, he understood why she was hiding. The question was, what would he do about it? Maya couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Carlos Torres's face in that moment of recognition. She kept expecting GDC intelligence to burst through her door, but the hours passed quietly. Either Torres hadn't told anyone, or they were waiting for the right moment to strike. At 3 in the morning, she gave up on sleep and went to the rooftop garden. The Academy's dome provided a perfect view of the stars, and Maya often came here when the memories became too heavy. Tonight, she wasn't alone. Carlos Torres sat on a bench near the edge of the dome, still wearing his dress uniform from the recruitment fair. He looked older than she remembered, lines of weariness carved deep around his eyes. When he heard her footsteps, he turned and offered a sad smile. "I figured you might come here," he said quietly. "You always liked high places. Said they helped you think." Maya hesitated, every instinct screaming at her to run. But where could she go? If Torres had already reported her location, running would only confirm his suspicions. If he hadn't, well, maybe it was time to stop running. She sat on the opposite end of the bench, maintaining distance out of habit. "How long have you known?" "The moment I saw you in that crowd." "Those eyes don't change, Commander. Still carry the same weight they did at Kepler Station." Maya winced at the title. "Don't call me that. That person is dead, is she?" Torres leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Because the Maya Chen sitting next to me right now is analyzing escape routes, calculating threats, and planning 3 different ways to disappear before morning. That's not a dead person. That's the same tactical mind that saved humanity." "Tactical mind?" Maya laughed bitterly. "I got thousands of people killed, Carlos. Good soldiers who trusted me to bring them home. And you saved billions more. The war would have lasted decades without your strategies. Earth itself might have fallen." Maya stood and walked to the dome's edge, pressing her palms against the transparent aluminum. Below, the Academy slept peacefully, unaware that their most famous hero was having a breakdown 30 floors above them. "Why didn't you report me?" she asked. Torres was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with old grief. "Because I know why you disappeared. I was there on Titan Base when you got the final casualty reports. I saw what it did to you." The memories hit like a physical blow. Titan Base, the war's final battle. Victory achieved at a cost so high it felt like defeat. 40,000 human casualties. 40,000 names that she had approved for the mission, knowing full well that most wouldn't come home. "You were 24 years old," Torres continued. "A kid who'd been handed impossible choices and somehow made the right ones every time. But nobody can carry that weight forever. The intelligence officers are here looking for me," Maya said. "Webb is here. They know something. Webb's been hunting for you since you disappeared. But he's not here for you." Maya turned, surprised. "What do you mean?" Torres reached into his jacket and pulled out a data pad. "There's been chatter about a new alien threat. Something bigger than the Zephyrians. The GDC thinks Commander Steele took classified information when she vanished. Tactical assessments, weapon specifications, strategic analyses. They want that data." "I didn't take anything classified," Maya protested. "No, but you have something more valuable. You have the experience, the insights, the tactical genius that created those assessments in the first place. They can't replicate your thought processes from files." Maya sank back onto the bench. "So they want to drag me back into service." "The galaxy is heading toward another war, Commander. Humanity needs its best defender. I'm not that person anymore. I'm just trying to survive each day without breaking apart completely." Torres studied her carefully. "Are you? Because when I was telling those stories today, I saw the way you listened. Not like a traumatized veteran avoiding memories, but like a commander evaluating intelligence reports. Part of you is still in there, still thinking, still planning." Maya wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. Even now, sitting in this garden, she was unconsciously cataloging the Academy's defensive positions, analyzing how she would protect the students if an attack came. Old habits died hard. "What do you want from me, Carlos?" "I want you to come to the presentation tomorrow. Webb is giving a briefing on the new threat. Listen to what he has to say, then decide for yourself whether Maya Chen can keep hiding while humanity faces extinction. And if I refuse?" Torres stood and straightened his uniform. "Then I'll respect your choice. You've given enough for one lifetime, but..." He paused at the garden entrance. "Those kids down there dreaming of being heroes like Commander Steele? They're going to face something worse than anything we fought. Maybe they deserve to have their hero standing beside them when it happens." After he left, Maya remained in the garden until dawn broke over the academy dome. She watched the artificial sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson, thinking about choices and consequences, about the weight of command and the cost of freedom. When she finally returned to her room, Zoe was getting ready for classes. "You're up early," Zoe yawned. "Couldn't sleep because of all the excitement from the recruitment fair?" Maya managed a weak smile. "Something like that. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a special presentation this morning, some kind of classified briefing about galactic threats, only available to students in the advanced tactical programs." Zoe paused. "Wait, you're not in those programs? How weird that they'd invite everyone." Maya's blood chilled. "Everyone's invited?" "Yeah, mandatory attendance. Headmaster Park sent out a message this morning." "Strange, right?" Maya's hand shook as she reached for her tablet. Sure enough, there was a message from the headmaster. All students required to attend emergency briefing on galactic security threats. Attendance mandatory. Report to main auditorium at Oro 900 hours. Webb wasn't just hunting for Commander Steele. He was casting a net to catch her, using the entire student body as bait. He knew she was here, somewhere in this academy. And now he was going to force her to reveal herself or watch innocent students walk into danger unprepared. Maya looked at herself in the mirror. Maya Chen, the scared girl hiding behind thick glasses and oversized clothes, stared back at her. But underneath the disguise, Commander Steele was stirring to life, analyzing the threat, calculating responses, preparing for war. The question was, which one would walk into that auditorium this morning? The main auditorium was packed with every student and faculty member in the academy. Maya sat in the back row, hood up, trying to remain invisible among the crowd. But she could feel eyes searching for her, and she knew Webb was out there somewhere waiting. The lights dimmed and Colonel Webb stepped onto the stage. His presence commanded immediate attention, and the excited chatter of students died to silence. Behind him, a massive holographic display activated, showing star charts and military classifications. "Students and faculty of Terra Prime Academy," Webb began, his voice carrying easily through the auditorium. "What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. You are here because humanity faces a new threat, one that may require the involvement of every capable individual." The display changed to show long-range sensor data, massive ships moving through deep space, their designs unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever built. 3 months ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected these vessels entering our galaxy. We initially believed them to be Zephyrian remnants, but analysis has proven otherwise. They belong to something called the Void Collective, and their technology is decades ahead of anything we've encountered. Maya leaned forward despite herself. The ship configurations were fascinating, biomechanical designs that seemed to blend organic and artificial elements. Her tactical mind automatically began analyzing weak points and attack patterns. "Preliminary engagements have been unsuccessful," Webb continued. 3 full battle groups have been lost with no survivors. Standard human tactics appear ineffective against their adaptive defenses. A student in the front row raised her hand. "Sir, why are you telling us this?" "We're just academy students." Webb's smile was cold. "Because sometimes the greatest insights come from fresh perspectives. And because we have reason to believe that someone in this room has experience that could be crucial to humanity's survival." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. Webb was about to spring his trap. You see, during the Zephyrian War, humanity produced a tactical genius known as Commander Steele. Her strategies saved billions of lives and ended what could have been a centuries-long conflict. After the war, she vanished, taking with her knowledge and insights that we now desperately need. The display changed to show a silhouette, Maya's own profile from her military records, but digitally altered to obscure identifying features. "Commander Steele, if you're listening, humanity needs you again. The Void Collective represents an extinction-level threat. Your tactical brilliance may be our only hope." Maya felt hundreds of eyes scanning the auditorium, students and faculty alike wondering if the legendary commander could really be among them. Several people looked directly at her, but her disguise held. She was still just Maya Chen, unremarkable and invisible. Webb waited for several long moments, then continued. "Of course, we understand that Commander Steele may have reasons for remaining hidden. Trauma from the war, desire for a normal life, fear of the responsibility. But let me share with you what the Void Collective has already done to other species. The next images made Maya's stomach turn. Planets stripped bare of all organic matter. Their populations converted into some kind of biological fuel. Entire star systems gone dark, their stars somehow extinguished. And through it all, the elegant, terrible ships of the Void Collective moving like predators through the cosmos. They don't just conquer, Webb explained. They consume. Every world they touch becomes lifeless. Every species they encounter becomes extinct. They are the death of everything we are and everything we could become. Maya's hands clenched in her lap. This was worse than the Zephyrian War. Much worse. The Zephyrians had at least been understandable enemies. Territorial, aggressive, but following rational military objectives. The Void Collective seemed to exist only to destroy. I'll be conducting private interviews over the next few days, Webb announced. Every student, every faculty member. We're looking for anyone with unusual insights into tactical planning, xenobiology, or unconventional warfare. Because somewhere in this academy I believe we have the person who can save us all. As the briefing ended and students began filing out, Maya remained seated. Her mind raced through possibilities. Webb knew she was here, but he didn't know which face in the crowd was hers. He was planning to interview everyone, hoping to identify her through her knowledge and responses. She could run, pack her things tonight and disappear into the outer colonies where even GDC intelligence would have trouble finding her. But the images of dead worlds haunted her. How many planets would die while she hid in safety? Heavy stuff, huh? Maya jumped. Carlos Torres had somehow appeared beside her without her noticing. Impressive, given her military training. You're going to get caught if you stay, she whispered. I know. Torres sat down, ignoring the students streaming past them. Webb's good at his job. Those interviews aren't just fishing expeditions. He's got psychological profiles, behavioral analysis, probably even genetic scanners hidden in his equipment. If Commander Steele sits across from him, he'll know. Then what choice do I have? The same choice you've always had. Stand and fight or watch others die in your place. Maya closed her eyes. In her mind, she could see tactical solutions forming almost automatically. The Void Collective ships had weaknesses. Their biomechanical nature suggested dependency on organic components that could be disrupted. Their adaptive defenses implied a learning system that could potentially be confused or overwhelmed. But implementing those strategies would require resources, authority, and the kind of coordinated effort that only someone like Commander Steele could organize. If I come forward, she said quietly, they'll never let me go again. It won't just be one war. It'll be every war, every crisis, every impossible decision for the rest of my life. Probably, Torres agreed. That's the price of being extraordinary. Maya opened her eyes and looked around the auditorium. Students were still discussing the presentation in excited whispers, some frightened, others eager for adventure. They had no idea what war really meant, but they were willing to risk everything to protect humanity's future. Jessica Martinez stopped near their row, talking loudly to her friends. I hope they find Commander Steele soon. Imagine how awesome it would be to meet her. She's probably some kind of superhuman warrior. Superhuman. Maya almost laughed. If only they knew that their legendary hero was a traumatized young woman who could barely sleep through the night without medication. But maybe that was what they needed to see. Not a superhuman, but a human being choosing to be extraordinary when it mattered most. Torres, Maya said suddenly, if I do this, if I step forward, will you help me? I can't face this alone again. The veteran smiled for the first time since she'd known him. Commander, it would be my honor to serve under you again. Maya Chen stood up slowly. Around them, the auditorium continued to buzz with conversation. But something had changed. The scared girl in oversized clothes was still there, but underneath, Commander Steele was awakening. The weight of command settled on her shoulders like an old, familiar coat. Tomorrow she would face Colonel Webb. Tonight she had preparations to make. Maya spent the night in her room, but not sleeping. Instead, she sat cross-legged on her bed, surrounded by data pads and holographic displays she'd somehow procured from the Academy's secure systems. Old skills were coming back: infiltration, data acquisition, pattern analysis, Commander Steele's skills. She studied the Void Collective ships from every angle, cross-referencing their designs with known alien technologies. By morning, she had 17 different tactical assessments ready, each one more complex than anything the current GDC leadership could have imagined. Zoe woke to find Maya already dressed, but something was different. The oversized hoodie was gone, replaced by a simple black outfit that seemed to emphasize rather than hide Maya's small frame. Her posture was straighter, her movements more precise, her eyes sharper. "You look different today," Zoe observed, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Maya paused at the mirror, studying her reflection. "Maybe I'm just tired of hiding." The interviews were being conducted in the academy's administrative building. Students lined up outside Webb's temporary office, most of them nervous but excited. Maya joined the queue, her heart pounding but her face calm. This was it. After 3 years of running, she was about to step back into the light. When her turn came, she entered the office to find Webb sitting behind a metal desk, various scanning devices arranged around him. He looked up from her file, the fake student record she'd maintained so carefully, and gestured to the chair across from him. "Maya Chen," he said, reading from his tablet. "Excellent grades in xenobiology and tactical theory." Somewhat of a loner, originally from the outer colonies. His eyes met hers. "Tell me about yourself, Miss Chen." Maya sat down, her movements controlled and economical. "What would you like to know?" "Let's start with why you chose to study xenobiology. It's an unusual field for someone your age. I find alien species fascinating. Their different approaches to warfare, their unique weaknesses and strengths. Knowledge like that could be useful if humanity ever faces another war." Webb leaned back slightly. Something in her tone had caught his attention. Warfare? An interesting way to frame xenobiology. Most students are interested in communication or peaceful exploration. Peace is a luxury, Colonel Webb. It exists only when someone is strong enough to enforce it. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Webb's casual demeanor shifted, becoming more focused, predatory. That's a very military perspective for a civilian student. Maya met his gaze steadily. "I've read the histories. I know what it cost to win the Zephyrian War. I know what Commander Steele sacrificed to give us the peace we have now." "And what do you think of Commander Steele?" Maya was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "I think she was someone who understood that sometimes one person has to carry the weight of everyone else's survival. I think she was brave enough to make the choices no one else could make. And I think she paid a price for that bravery that most people can't imagine." Webb leaned forward, his eyes intense. "You seem to know quite a lot about her psychological state for someone who never met her." "I've studied her tactics extensively. You can learn a lot about someone's mind from their strategic decisions. Commander Steele consistently chose the option that saved the most lives, even when it meant sacrificing her own people. That kind of decision-making leaves marks on a person's soul." "Show me." Webb activated a holographic display showing a simplified version of the Kepler station battle. "Tell me how you would have approached this engagement." Maya studied the display for exactly 3 seconds, long enough to appear thoughtful, not long enough to reveal that she'd planned this battle personally. "The Zephyrian positions here and here are vulnerable to a flanking maneuver, but only if you're willing to sacrifice the forward scouts. Most commanders wouldn't make that trade. Commander Steele did because she understood that 20 lives lost could save 20,000. Webb's expression was unreadable. "And the final assault? How would you have breached their defenses? Overload their adaptive shields with multiple simultaneous attacks from different energy signatures. Keep switching tactics faster than their systems can compensate. It's not elegant, but it works." Maya paused. "Of course, that's exactly what Commander Steele did." "Yes, it is." Webb stood and walked around the desk, studying Maya with undisguised interest. "Miss Chen, your insights are remarkably sophisticated for a student, almost as if you have practical experience." Maya felt the moment approaching, the point where she would either commit fully or try to maintain her cover. She thought of the dead worlds in Webb's presentation, of the students outside dreaming of glory they didn't understand, of Carlos Torres waiting somewhere nearby. "Colonel Webb," she said quietly, "what if I told you that I think Commander Steele made the right choice in disappearing? That maybe she realized the war had damaged her too much to be trusted with more lives?" "I would say that sounds like something a survivor's guilt victim might think." Webb's voice was gentle now, almost fatherly. "And I would remind them that sometimes broken people are the only ones qualified to handle impossible situations." Maya stood up, her decision made. "Then I guess it's time to stop running from impossible situations." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the GDC identification chip she'd carried for 3 years. With a steady hand, she placed it on Webb's desk. The small device beeped once as its sensors activated, then projected a holographic display that made Webb's breath catch. Commander Maya Chen. Classification. Steel classification. Status missing presumed active. The office fell silent except for the hum of electronics. Webb stared at the identification chip, then at Maya, then back at the chip as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Commander Steele, he whispered. My God, you're just a kid. Maya straightened to her full height, and despite being barely 5 feet tall, she suddenly seemed to fill the room. I was a kid, Colonel. Kids grow up fast during wartime. Webb's professional composure returned quickly. We've been searching for you for 3 years, I know. I've been avoiding you for 3 years. The intelligence you took when you disappeared, I didn't take any intelligence. Everything you need to know about defeating the Void Collective is right here. Maya tapped her temple. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price for it. What price? Maya walked to the window, looking out at the academy courtyard where students were laughing and playing, blissfully unaware that their world was about to change forever. The price is accepting that Commander Steele doesn't exist anymore. She died the day the war ended. What you get instead is Maya Chen, broken, traumatized, barely holding herself together. Who happens to remember how to win impossible wars? She turned back to Webb, and he saw something in her eyes that made him understand why soldiers had followed this tiny woman into hell itself. The question, Colonel, is whether that's enough for you. 2 hours later, Maya found herself in a secure conference room aboard Webb's ship, surrounded by the highest-ranking officers in the Galactic Defense Corps. Admiral Helena Voss, the current Supreme Commander, sat at the head of the table, her weathered face showing a mixture of relief and apprehension. So you're really her, Admiral Voss said, studying Maya intently. Commander Steele, the woman who saved humanity. Maya sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap. The scared student was gone, replaced by something harder, more focused. I'm Maya Chen. Commander Steele was a title and a reputation. Both are dead. Your tactical genius isn't dead, argued General Morrison, the head of strategic planning. We've been studying your war strategies for 3 years. No one else thinks the way you do. Maya accessed the holographic display in the center of the table with casual efficiency, calling up her overnight analysis of the Void Collective threat. The assembled officers leaned forward as complex tactical assessments filled the air around them. The Void Collective ships use biomechanical technology, Maya began, her voice steady and professional. Their hulls are partially organic, which means they can self-repair, but also that they have metabolic vulnerabilities. Their adaptive shielding learns from each attack. But learning takes time. Hit them with enough different tactics fast enough, and you can overwhelm their processing capabilities. She manipulated the display, showing ship schematics and attack vectors. More importantly, their consumption-based expansion model creates logistical constraints. They need organic matter to fuel their ships and technology. That makes them predictable. They have to attack populated worlds, which means we know where they'll strike next. Admiral Voss exchanged glances with her staff. You've analyzed all of this in one night? I've had 3 years to think about theoretical scenarios. When you gave me actual data yesterday, I just applied existing frameworks. Maya paused. The bad news is that conventional tactics won't work. You'll need to completely restructure how the GDC operates. What kind of restructuring? General Morrison asked. Maya stood and walked around the table, the same restless energy that had made her legendary beginning to show. Small independent units with broad operational authority. No more massive fleet engagements. They'll just adapt to your patterns and slaughter you. You need unpredictable asymmetric warfare, hit-and-run tactics, psychological operations. Make them afraid. Afraid? Admiral Voss frowned. Everything we know suggests the Void Collective doesn't experience fear. Everything experiences fear when it faces something it can't understand or control. The key is making them think we're more dangerous than we actually are. Maya brought up new displays showing communication intercepts. Look at their response patterns when our forces retreat. They don't pursue aggressively. They consolidate their gains and wait. That's not the behavior of mindless predators. It's the behavior of intelligent beings who've learned to be cautious. Colonel Webb, who had been silent during the presentation, finally spoke. What you're describing would require unprecedented coordination between independent units, the kind of leadership that can inspire people to follow impossible orders. Maya met his gaze directly. Are you asking me to take command, Colonel? The room fell silent. This was the moment everyone had been building toward, but now that it was here, the weight of it seemed enormous. Admiral Voss cleared her throat. Maya, the GDC would be honored to have you return to service, but we need to understand what we're asking. You were traumatized by the last war. Are you prepared to face that kind of responsibility again? Maya was quiet for a long moment, her expression unreadable. When she spoke, her voice was soft but steady. Admiral, 3 years ago I walked away because I was broken. I was making decisions based on guilt and trauma, rather than tactical necessity. I couldn't trust myself with people's lives. She turned to the viewport, looking out at the stars beyond. But yesterday I saw those images of dead worlds. Children converted to fuel. Entire species erased. And I realized that my trauma is a luxury humanity can't afford right now. So you'll do it? General Morrison asked. You'll take command? Maya turned back to the assembled officers. I'll take operational command of the anti-void forces, but I have conditions. Name them, Admiral Voss said immediately. First, I choose my own staff, people I trust who understand unconventional warfare. Second, I have complete tactical authority in the field. No political interference, no second-guessing from Earth. Third, Maya hesitated. I want protection for the students at Terra Prime Academy. If this goes badly, they'll need somewhere safe to continue their education. Done, Admiral Voss agreed. Anything else? Maya looked around the table at these powerful, experienced officers who were willing to place the fate of humanity in the hands of a traumatized young woman who could barely sleep without nightmares. Yes, I want it understood that I'm not Commander Steele anymore. That person died in the last war. I'm Maya Chen, older, damaged, hopefully wiser. I make mistakes, I have bad days, and sometimes I'll need help. If you're looking for the infallible hero from the propaganda posters, you're going to be disappointed. General Morrison leaned back in his chair. What if we don't need an infallible hero? What if we just need someone smart enough to find a way to win? Maya smiled for the first time since entering the room. A small, sad expression that somehow contained both resignation and determination. Then I guess you found your person. Admiral Voss stood and extended her hand. Welcome back to service, Commander Chen. Maya shook the offered hand, feeling the weight of command settling on her shoulders once again. But this time she wasn't carrying it alone. Through the viewport she could see other ships joining Webb's vessel, the beginning of a new kind of fleet, one built for the strange war that was coming. In her mind, strategies were already forming. Recruitment protocols for the unconventional officers she would need. Training regimens for asymmetric warfare. Communication networks that could coordinate independent units across vast distances. It was going to be the most complex military operation in human history. And somehow, against all odds, Maya found herself looking forward to the challenge. Outside, the stars waited, both the ones that still harbored life and the dark spaces where the Void Collective hunted. Soon humanity would take the fight to them, and this time they would be ready. 6 months later, Maya stood on the bridge of the GDC vessel Defiance, watching as the final pieces of her unconventional fleet moved into position around the Void Collective stronghold at Kepler 442b. It was the same system where she'd won her first major victory against the Zephyrians. But this battle would be different in every way that mattered. All units report ready, Commander, called Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the communications console. Kim had been one of her students at Terra Prime Academy, recruited after showing an intuitive grasp of multidimensional tactical thinking. The bow, young woman's voice was steady, despite facing her first real combat. Maya nodded, her attention focused on the holographic display showing enemy positions. The Void Collective had turned Kepler 442b into a processing center, stripping the planet's ecosystem to fuel their war machine. Intelligence suggested over 2 million organic beings were being held there, slowly converted into the biomechanical components that powered their technology. Torres, status on Alpha Wing? Maya called to her old sergeant, who now served as her chief of special operations. Insertion teams are in position, Commander. We've identified the primary conversion facilities. Charges are set. Maya studied the enemy formations one more time. 17 massive Void Collective ships hung in orbit around the planet, their biomechanical hulls pulsing with alien energy. Against them, Maya had assembled 30 smaller vessels, each equipped with experimental weapons designed to exploit the weaknesses she'd identified. More importantly, Each ship was commanded by someone who understood that in this war, conventional tactics meant death. Captain Martinez, formerly Jessica, the popular Academy student, commanded a stealth frigate crewed entirely by former Academy dropouts, who'd proven brilliant at irregular warfare. Commander Singh led a squadron of modified fighters piloted by civilians, who'd volunteered after losing their homes to the collective. Even Dr. Kumar, Maya's former xenobiology professor, was here aboard a research vessel tasked with real-time biological warfare analysis. "All units, this is Commander Chen," Maya announced over the fleet-wide channel. "Remember, we're not here to win a glorious victory. We're here to save lives and prove to the collective that humanity is more dangerous than they calculated. Stay unpredictable, watch your teammates' backs, and come home alive." She paused, looking around the bridge at the young faces who'd chosen to follow her into this nightmare. "And remember, you're not fighting as soldiers today. You're fighting as human beings defending what makes us human. Show them what that means." The attack began with Torres' insertion team striking the conversion facility simultaneously. Explosions blossomed across the planet's surface as the processing centers went up in flames, sending clouds of liberated organic matter into the atmosphere. The Void Collective ships immediately moved to investigate, their adaptive formations splitting apart. "Now," Maya commanded. The human fleet struck from 6 different vectors at once, each group using completely different tactics. Martinez's stealth. Units appeared from nowhere to launch focused electromagnetic pulse attacks on the collective's biomechanical systems. Singh's fighters swarmed around the larger ships like angry insects, their weapons constantly cycling through different energy frequencies to prevent adaptation. Dr. Kumar's research vessel deployed biological weapons designed to disrupt the organic components of the enemy hulls. For the first few minutes it worked perfectly. The Void Collective ships, designed to adapt to conventional military tactics, struggled to respond to the chaotic, seemingly random assault patterns. Their formations became confused, their return fire scattered and ineffective. But Maya had learned from the Zephyrian War that no plan survived contact with reality for long. "Commander," Lieutenant Kim's voice was tight with alarm. "The collective ships are doing something new. They're merging." Maya watched in horrified fascination as the 17 enemy vessels began to physically connect with each other, their biomechanical hulls flowing together like living metal. Within minutes they had become a single massive structure, its adaptive capabilities exponentially increased. "All units, fall back to Delta formation," Maya ordered. "Switch to Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was something she'd hoped never to use, a desperate tactic that turned the human fleet into a weapon of mass destruction. Each ship would ram the merged collective vessel at maximum speed, their experimental reactors set to overload on impact. It would destroy the enemy, but at the cost of every human life in the fleet. "Commander," Torres' voice came over a private channel, "there has to be another way." Maya closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of command crushing down on her. 3,000 human beings were waiting for her orders. On the planet below, millions of prisoners were depending on her success. And somewhere beyond the stars, humanity's future hung in the balance. Then she opened her eyes, and they were filled with the same fierce determination that had made her legendary. "All units, new orders," she announced. "We're going to do something the collective has never seen before. Something they can't adapt to because it makes no tactical sense whatsoever." She activated the holographic display, showing her plan to the entire fleet. Around the bridge, her officers stared at the tactical projection with expressions ranging from amazement to terror. "Commander," Lieutenant Kim whispered, "that's completely insane." "Exactly," Maya smiled. "The collective learns from military logic, so we're going to stop using logic." What followed was the most chaotic, unpredictable, and successful battle in military history. The human fleet split into individual ships, each one following personal, emotional, illogical attack patterns. Captain Martinez attacked because she was angry about her brother's death. Commander Singh dove into enemy fire because he was homesick and wanted to see Earth again. Dr. Kumar launched his research drones because he was curious about collective biology. The merged enemy vessel, designed to adapt to military strategies, couldn't process purely human motivations. Its vast intelligence struggled to find patterns in actions driven by love, grief, curiosity, and hope. And, for the first time since entering human space, the Void Collective was afraid. The battle ended when Maya herself, flying a single-person fighter, approached the enemy vessel and began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not tactical data or surrender, demands, but something the collective had never heard before. Human music, human poetry, human laughter and tears. The alien intelligence, overwhelmed by the complexity of human emotion, simply shut down. The massive biomechanical structure went dark, its adaptive systems crashed by exposure to something they were never designed to understand. As rescue ships moved in to evacuate the prisoners from the planet below, Maya sat in her fighter cockpit, exhausted but triumphant. Around her, the human fleet was already planning their next impossible victory. "Commander," Torres's voice crackled over the radio. "You did it. You saved them all." Maya looked out at the stars, thinking about the scared girl who'd hidden in an academy library just months ago. Maya Chen was still there, still traumatized, still struggling with nightmares and guilt. But she was also something more now, a leader who'd found a way to turn human weakness into impossible strength. "No, Torres," she replied. "We all did it. Together." In the distance, Earth's sun shone like a beacon, calling humanity home. But Maya knew their real home wasn't a planet. It was the connections between them, the emotions and dreams and stubborn refusal to surrender that made them human. The Void Collective had learned something important today. Humanity wasn't just another species to be consumed. They were something new in the galaxy, something dangerous and wonderful and completely unpredictable. And they were just getting started.